Dolphins fans, welcome into this edition of the Dolphins Mailbag. I am Will Scott answering your questions here on Dolphins Live. Certainly a lot to discuss leading up to the big game on Sunday Night Football, and we begin with William Woodburn. Having seen both Tua Tagovailoa's and Justin Herbert's stats, I think the Dolphins made the right pick, and so did the Chargers. Both of them fit in their team schemes well. This is the right take. This is absolutely the right take. And later on in the live show, and if you're watching this after live, be sure to check out the video where we discuss Tua against Herbert. But I think we can appreciate, Chugs, both quarterbacks. Both quarterbacks are very good. Tua's had the better year. Herbert probably had, obviously, the better first 2 years. But both are good. Both have their different strengths. Herbert has the stronger arm. Tua's more accurate. Tua's won more games. Both teams made the right pick. That's the right take, William Woodburn. We appreciate the question. Chad Jones, the Super Chat MVP himself. Who do you think will stay at right tackle, and will Liam start? No, I don't think I hope Liam doesn't start, Chad. He shouldn't. Robert Jones has been serviceable in that position. As for right tackle, I expect Brandon Shell to start there this week just because Eric Fisher just got picked up. But I believe next week in Buffalo, we will see Eric Fisher start his first game as a Dolphin with Brandon Shell being the backup swing tackle. And that's not a disservice to Shell. Shell's been fine, but Eric Fisher's more talented, I think, at that position. Mr. Cat, if Terron Armstead can't play, will the Dolphins put Eric Fisher at left tackle? I think so. I think when evaluating if Eric Fisher's actually going to play this week, it all comes down to Terron Armstead. I don't think the team wants to see the Greg Little experiment anymore. I think that is a big reason they signed Eric Fisher just one day after a loss to the Niners, where the offensive line really struggled, giving up a couple sacks. Tua actually got banged up, obviously. So I think, yes, and Eric Fisher is a left tackle. We just talked about him at right tackle, but it is worth noting that he has not played right tackle since 2015. He's been a left tackle, so I'm sure he would feel comfortable in that spot if Armstead is out. Kevin from Home Alone. A lot of people say I look like Kevin from Home Alone. What are your thoughts, Chugs? You think so? Anyway, can Skylar Thompson be a long-term number 2 option? I hope so. I have a lot of faith in Sky. Obviously, his last couple of outings, he has not performed great. But when you're talking about him as a long-term number 2 option, I think it's possible. Teddy Bridgewater signed a 1-year deal. I don't expect him to be back. Taking a look at what Skylar has done this year, a 52.8% completion percentage. That's not great. 278 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 picks. So the stats don't look good, but what I'm looking at and evaluating Skylar right now is how he looked in the preseason. He looked phenomenal. He was the best, not just rookie quarterback, but quarterback in general in the preseason. And I'm also looking at what he did in that game against the Vikings. When he had first-team reps, he came out in the first quarter and was slinging it. Will Skylar Thompson be QB2 next year? Type Y for yes or type in for no down in the comments section. Go down, let me know. I actually do believe he will be the number 2 next year. Marlo Sherman. I think our linebackers need to do a better job at QB spy to eliminate, the quarterback scrambling. That's a good point. I mean, they really struggle against Justin Fields. I mean, that is just a game that I look back on. Obviously the Dolphins won, but the Dolphins defense really struggled in that game. I agree. I think the linebackers, especially the inside linebackers, can do a better job at that. Luckily, Justin Herbert is more of a pocket passer, not a dual threat. But he could take off and run with it here and there. John Ruiz. How will the offensive line and defense improve by avoiding penalties, and what are some defensive coordinators that the Dolphins can sign to fire Josh Boyer? Also, any news on Byron Jones? So Byron Jones, the one update we received this week on that, Sam Madison, obviously Dolphins legend, now the Dolphins cornerbacks coach, was asked, we know that Byron Jones hasn't been playing, but has he been in team meetings helping out? That's what he was asked by the press. He did not say. All he said was, I'm going to defer any Byron Jones questions to Mike McDaniel. So it does not even sound like Byron Jones has been around the team, which is not a good look. In terms of defensive coordinators that the Dolphins can look at if they do move on from Josh Boyer, a name I'm looking at is Matt House, the LSU defensive coordinator, was the linebackers coach for the Kansas City Chiefs for a couple seasons, did a really good job in Kansas City, did a great job as the LSU defensive coordinator this year outside of the Texas A&M game. Jim Leonhard from Wisconsin, maybe another guy you look at. Is worth noting that Jim Leonhard has been linked to some head coaching jobs at the college level. He was linked to the Cincinnati job. They ultimately went with Scott Satterfield. Matt House has been a name linked to the Purdue job as well. So if Jim Leonhard and Matt House do not get college head coaching jobs, then maybe an NFL defensive coordinator position is something they would be interested in. Shout out to Pete Benedict's $5 super chat. Willie Fins! We appreciate you, Pete. Thanks so much for contributing to the show. All super chats go to the Chat Sports Fund. NFL. Thoughts on the Bills game in the cold weather? The NFL, I appreciate that question. So I'm nervous about this week because I'm nervous about next week. You lost last week. Next week is going to be really tough to win against a really good Buffalo team in that cold weather. So it's so important to win this week because if you lose this week, you're in danger of maybe losing 3 straight games. But yeah, it's going to be tough to win in the cold weather. Buffalo, never an easy place to play, especially this time of year. But I do believe the Dolphins can go in there and win the game. Did you hear Stephon Diggs, either last week or the week before, saying, I effing want the Dolphins. They want us. We want them. Bring them on. And you can bet on that game and also on this game this weekend at chatsports.com/bet. Promo code Dolphins125 to get a 125% deposit bonus on BetUS. That means if you put $100 in, you're going to start with $225 in your account. It's a great deal. Go and take advantage of it. The Dolphins are a 3.5-point favorite. I really like that spread, and the total is at 51.5. I could see this being a shootout. I like the Dolphins. I like the over. You can go bet on the game. They also got game props and futures available as well. Go bet on 2 to win the MVP, Fins to win the Super Bowl. Chatsports.com/bet, promo code Dolphins125. I actually had a dream last night the Dolphins won the Super Bowl. And then I woke up and I was like, shoot, that was a dream. Hopefully it comes true. G-Code, $2 super chat. Skipping the line. That is the best way to get your questions in on Dolphins Live. Appreciate the super chat. Appreciate the question. Did the 49ers defense expose Tua more pressure? Look, it was no doubt Tua's worst game of the year, but he still put up nearly 300 yards. He still threw for 2 touchdowns. He still got the Dolphins back in the game in the fourth quarter after throwing those 2 picks. Yeah, there was more pressure on Tua, and I think Tua can certainly sometimes do a better job when he's under pressure. You've seen him make something out of nothing a lot this year, but that's still an area that I'm sure he's looking to improve in. But I think it was more on the offensive line, quite frankly, G-Code, than it was Tua. The offensive line really struggled, which is why I think they signed Eric Fisher. Hopefully Terron Armstead's back this week. That'll certainly help Tua out. But I appreciate that point you're making because the Dolphins got to figure out a way to win when Terron Armstead cannot play. He's certainly injury-prone. He missed a lot of time in his career with the Saints as well. Bob the Builder, can he fix it? I really like the idea of drafting Deuce Vaughn from K-State. Thoughts? Man, after watching him this season, I'm right there with you, Bob. I think Deuce Vaughn is an absolute target for the Dolphins in the NFL draft. I do believe the Dolphins will draft a running back, perhaps with their first pick in the second round, and Vaughn has had a fantastic career at Kansas State. Here's what he's done. Over 3,400 rushing yards, 33 touchdowns, over 1,200 receiving yards, 9 receiving touchdowns this season for Deuce Vaughn. So he has been really, really good throughout his career. It is worth noting that he has another year of eligibility. He could come back to Kansas State. He is playing in the Sugar Bowl against Alabama. That'll be probably what determines if he goes to the draft or not. If he goes out and tears up that Bama defense, one of the best defenses in the country, his stock will rise. He'll probably go to the draft, but we have not heard anything yet on if Deuce Vaughn will enter the 2023 NFL draft. If he does, he's the name I'm looking at. Do you want to draft Deuce Vaughn? Type D for draft or type P for pass down in the comments section. I really like him. I really like Blake Corum. I like Sean Tucker. This running back class is loaded. Luke, we appreciate the question. Hey, Willie, Von Miller or Bradley Chubb? Who would I who would I rather have for the next 5 years? Bradley Chubb, no question. Von Miller's up there. He just tore his ACL. He's out for the year. We certainly wish him the best. He's a great player. Buffalo's really going to miss his presence on the defense. But, yeah, right now Bradley Chubb is probably the better player. He's much younger, which contributes to my take there. Karan, one of our most loyal subs. We appreciate you watching from Vancouver. Go Canucks. What are some potential free agent names you want the Dolphins to target, and what are your thoughts on the Byron Jones controversial meeting rumor? So, yeah, I brought that up earlier, Karan. I appreciate the question again. So, to get y'all up to speed here, Byron Jones apparently has not been in any meetings, or at least that's what Sam Madison said. So, I wish I could say I'm surprised, Karan. Byron Jones has just, it's just weird. Like, he had this off-season cleanup surgery. He was supposed to be back by camp. He wasn't back by camp. He wasn't back by the start of the season. Now the regular season is almost over, and he's still not back, and now he hasn't been around the team. It's just not a good look for Byron Jones, Karan, and it makes me believe that he's not going to be back with the Dolphins next year. In terms of potential free agents to target, I'm looking at Saquon Barkley. I'm really looking at Saquon. And the Dolphins need to figure out this run game. Jeff Wilson was really good the first 2 weeks. He has not had that big of an impact since. I still believe Jeff Wilson can be a guy the Dolphins, look at as maybe someone to bring back next year. He's going to be a free agent. So is Raheem Mostert. I don't believe they're going to bring both of those guys back, which should open the door for maybe a Saquon Barkley. But again, this running back draft class is really stacked, so I wouldn't mind, signing maybe a corner and bring in a running back in the draft. Appreciate the question, Karan. Wes C. Should we get Richard Sherman? He's doing pretty well for himself on Thursday Night Football, so I don't really know if he's interested in coming back. I think it would be maybe it'd have to be the right opportunity for him, I would say, which the Dolphins would certainly be that. But I think there's better options out there if you want to improve in the secondary, like Malcolm Butler is one of those guys. And the Dolphins actually did work out Malcolm a few weeks ago, but did not sign him. Likenson, we appreciate the question. Should we go after Pollard from the Cowboys if we happen to make it to the big dance? Even if we don't make it to the Super Bowl, yeah, I think Pollard is a guy that you oh, you're good. We can bring in. No, you're good, Chugs. Hi, what's up? Hi. Can either Fisher or Shell play left guard? No. Fisher's played tackle his entire career. The question with Fisher is, can he play a right tackle? Because he's been a left tackle since 2015. Before that, he had some experience playing right tackle. That's the question with Fisher. I don't think Shell can play guard, but he might be better than Liam Eichenberg at that spot. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, and if you did not get a question in the show, DM me on Twitter. More than happy to answer your questions there at WillScott44.